Money. It's one of the most common reasons couples argue. And it's not always about how much you have, but how you use it, and whether you're using it together. Today, I want to share the story of Sophie and William, a couple who deeply love each other but found themselves drifting apart because of constant tension around money. Their story might sound familiar. And if it does, I hope their journey can guide you too. Sophie and William have been married for 7 years. They live just outside Manchester in a charming 2-bedroom house filled with creativity and calm. Sophie is a 35-year-old freelance graphic designer who adores plants, color palettes, and spontaneous moments. She works from home, crafting logos, websites, and digital branding for small businesses and creative entrepreneurs across the UK. William, 38, is an operations manager for a logistics firm. He works long hours, commutes to the city every day, and prides himself on being reliable and structured. He's the kind of man who color codes his calendars and never forgets to pay a bill on time. On the surface, they complement each other. Sophie brings lightness and flexibility. William brings security and focus. But beneath that surface, financial disagreements have begun to chip away at their connection. It started gradually, when they were dating and even newly married. Money was never a major issue. They each handled their own accounts, shared big expenses casually, and didn't feel the need for strict rules. When they moved in together, they had an unspoken arrangement. William paid the mortgage and insurance. Sophie managed utilities and groceries. At first, this loose structure worked well. They trusted each other and believed love would smooth over any bumps. But as life evolved, especially once Sophie left her agency job to pursue freelance work full-time, the balance began to shift. Freelancing brought Sophie freedom, but also financial unpredictability. Some months, she landed well-paying clients and contributed generously to their household. Other months, she barely made enough to cover her personal expenses. Meanwhile, William's salary remained steady. He took pride in quietly stepping up when needed, covering additional costs without complaint. At least, not out loud. Inside, frustration began to build. He noticed Sophie buying little luxuries, an online art course, new paint supplies, brunch with a friend, or a weekend away at a coastal cottage, even during lean months. He didn't say much at first, but the unease simmered. He started keeping detailed budgets and trackers, noting every transaction, calculating who paid what. He began to feel like he was carrying the entire financial weight while Sophie floated above reality. Sophie, for her part, felt misunderstood. She believed in living fully in the present. Growing up, her parents had little but always found joy in experiences, homemade picnics, surprise outings, shared meals. She inherited their spirit. Money comes and goes, but memories last. To her, investing in beauty and spontaneity was not wasteful, but meaningful. So when William started asking her to log every purchase, or raised an eyebrow when she ordered takeout, she felt judged. She felt like her autonomy was being questioned. They started bickering, then fighting. The arguments weren't always about big purchases. Sometimes they erupted over small things, a new lamp Sophie bought without consulting William, or the fact that William contributed more to their savings account that month. Tensions mounted. The house, once filled with laughter, grew quiet. Meals were eaten in silence. Evenings became time spent in separate rooms, and neither of them could name exactly what went wrong. In therapy, Sophie admitted, "I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, like I'm not allowed to enjoy the money I earn." William responded, "I feel like I'm alone in thinking about our future. I don't want to control her. I just want to know we're planning something together." As I listened, I saw two people still very much in love, but trapped in a pattern that made them feel like adversaries instead of partners. They weren't really fighting about money. They were fighting about fear, about freedom, about responsibility, and unmet expectations. What they needed was a way to come back together, to move from blame to teamwork. To begin their healing, I asked them to pause all budgeting discussions for 2 weeks. No spreadsheets, no receipts, just conversations. Our goal was to uncover the emotional roots of their financial behaviors. During our next session, I asked each of them to share their personal history with money. Not just facts, but feelings. What did money mean in their childhood homes? What lessons did they absorb without even realizing? Sophie recalled growing up in a cheerful, financially unstable household. Her father worked seasonal jobs. Her mother was a part-time teacher. There was never much money, but her parents shielded her from the stress. Her childhood memories were filled with beach outings, art projects, and late-night dance parties in the living room. Her father always said, "We'll find a way." She internalized that belief. Money is fluid. Joy is essential. William's upbringing was a sharp contrast. Raised by a single mother who worked overtime as a nurse, money was tight and stress was constant. He remembered his mother crying at the kitchen table while going through overdue bills. He learned early that financial instability was painful and that security was earned through discipline. For him, control over money meant safety. Losing track of it meant danger. As they shared their stories, something softened between them. Sophie reached for William's hand and said, "I never knew you felt that fear so young." William replied, "And I didn't realize that for you. Spending on little things was about joy, not carelessness." That moment marked a shift. We then began to introduce structure, not as control, but as support. I helped them create a framework for money meetings. These weekly sit-downs were designed to be non-judgmental check-ins, with a warm drink in hand, away from screens, and focused on 3 things: appreciation, awareness, and aspiration. Appreciation. Each shared something they spent money on that week they felt good about. It could be as small as a coffee or as big as a new software license. The goal was to recognize value and avoid shame. Awareness. They reviewed upcoming expenses together. Rather than blaming or defending, they worked like a team forecasting a storm, honest, proactive, and focused. Aspiration. They discussed one goal or dream, whether it was saving for a trip to the Alps or planning to adopt a dog. This step reminded them why they were building together. To reduce daily tension, they also agreed on individual, no questions asked, budgets. Each got a monthly personal allowance they could spend however they pleased, no reporting required. This gave Sophie breathing room for creative whims, and William the peace of mind that the essentials were covered. Over time, their relationship began to shift. Conversations replaced assumptions. Compassion replaced blame. They found joy in shared planning. Sophie began helping design a visual savings tracker, complete with colorful illustrations. William, in turn, started celebrating small wins with her. A new client landed. A successful invoice paid. 3 months into this process, Sophie surprised William with a framed print she designed. It showed a tree with deep roots and colorful leaves, titled, "Our Growth." Beneath it were key milestones: when they met, when they moved in together, when they started their first money meeting. William teared up. He realized they were no longer stuck. They were evolving. Sophie said, "I used to think financial planning meant losing freedom. Now I see it gives us freedom." William smiled. "And I used to think flexibility was risky. But now I see it's what gives our life color." Their story isn't perfect. There are still moments of disagreement. But now they have tools, language, and a shared direction. In my experience, this is what real financial intimacy looks like. Not merging accounts or agreeing on every expense, but understanding each other's financial story, respecting differences, building rhythms that honor both structure and spontaneity. If you're listening and see parts of yourself in Sophie or William, let their journey be an invitation. Begin with curiosity. Share your story. Make space for your partners. and build systems that support both of you, not just one. Because when couples stop fighting against each other and start fighting for each other, even around money, they rediscover what brought them together in the first place: love, trust, and a future worth building together. If you found this video meaningful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. If you're facing unresolved challenges in your own marriage, we invite you to share your story in the comments below. We read every message, and we hope our words of encouragement will give you the strength to keep going. Even on the hardest days, we're here with you, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next episode.